Manhunt 2 is so violent, it's been banned in Britain. In fact, you may not want your kids to see the preview of this game in Daniel Seberg's Eye on Technology.
Just in time for Halloween comes one of the scariest video games ever seen. The objective? A mental patient tries to escape from a bizarre insane asylum using everything from a sickle to rip out a character's skull to a club to attack a police officer.
We're going to lure them into the open and then chop them up.
As Scott Steinberg, a video game reviewer and author, demonstrated for us, the experience is even more intense using Nintendo's Wii game console, which gets players to act out the violence.
So the Wii has motion sensing controls, and therefore to stab, you're going to mimic a stabbing motion. To swing a sledgehammer or a shovel, you would do the same. Unfortunately, it's probably not something that you would want your kids to get a lot of practice on.
And that has parents groups outraged, worried it will be played by teens and younger children.
It is some of the most horrific, senselessly violent stuff you've ever seen.
We invited Dr. Chris Lucas, a child psychiatrist, to watch the game in action.
Is there a cause for worry if parents...
I think we don't know at the moment, but I think that this is the sort of game that's most likely to have an effect. Games that actually have the players act out the things in a physical way are more likely to have one.
Researchers have not found a direct scientific link between playing violent video games and carrying out those acts in real life. But some studies have shown children who play certain video games become more aggressive and could become desensitized to violence. The Entertainment Software Rating Board has rated Manhunt 2 M for mature, meaning no one under 17 should be allowed to play or buy it. Manhunt 2 is made by the same company, Rockstar Games, that created the controversial and popular Grand Theft Auto titles.
Trying to get laid out.
What surprised many industry watchers is that Nintendo, maker of the Wii, has allowed Manhunt 2 to be played on its system. Nintendo has been known for its kid-friendly games, but now it will have an edgier reputation that may be good for business. In a statement, Nintendo told CBS News, just as with movies, television, and books, different video games appeal to and are appropriate for different audiences. We took Manhunt 2 to a local gaming center and let 3 20-somethings get their hands on it. They enjoyed playing, but even these hardcore gamers recoiled at the violent imagery.
The game just looks like they made it like this just to make it controversial, just to bring something up, because there's really no reason for the amount of violence, the level of violence that was in the game.
This definitely takes the cake as probably the most violent thing I've played.
By the way, we should point out it's not just Nintendo selling this game. Sony has it as well on its PlayStation 2 console, Katie.
And as you mentioned, Daniel, it's rated M, so it's not for anyone under the age of 17, but kids can often get their hands on things like this. There are things parents can do, though, right?
Absolutely. Every video game console allows parents to set their own preferences based on the video game ratings. So, for example, if you want to say only games that are rated E for everyone on this console can be played, or teen, or you can say no mature games at all can be played on this particular console.
And if you have the game, you can also have a special pen, so only you can play it and no one else.
Exactly. So you can stop your kids from messing around with those settings. You set up a security password, but this is just a tool. Parents still have to get involved with what their kids are doing.
And why anyone would want to play that creepy, disturbing game is beyond me, but that's what makes horse races.
Out there. Yeah.
All right, Daniel, thanks so much.
Right.
Coming up next,
the game has characters that kill and torture people in order to escape from an insane asylum. New at 11, Tim Miller is live in South Toledo. So, Tim, what is this game and what are people saying about it?
Yeah, Chris, this game is called Manhunt 2. We got a hold of a promotional poster for the game. Take a look at this guy right here. He's covered in blood. He has a huge needle, basically stalking his next victim. The game went on sale tonight here at GameStop in Toledo Commons. And this game is so violent, even the store manager is warning his customers. Now, Sean Black bought the first Manhunt.
It was a pretty good game, to a certain extent.
Pretty graphic, though.
Yeah, it was graphic.
The latest version, Manhunt 2, is so violent we really can't show you much of it. It's rated mature 17, meaning only 17-year-olds or over with ID can buy it. It features blood and gore, intense violence, strong sexual content, even use of drugs. Parents had this reaction. Let me show you. What do you think when you look at this poster of Manhunt?
Gross. Something I wouldn't buy for my kids. No, not for them to play.
Do you think even adults should be playing a game like this?
No. Because you can't tell your kids you can't play it, and then you sit there and play it in your house. It wouldn't be right.
Inside GameStop, in the PlayStation 2 section, you see the girls' game Bratz. Just 3 shelves up is Manhunt 2. And with the Wii games, Manhunt 2 is right next to the popular kids' game Mario Party. Store manager Jesse Sine is even disturbed by it.
I've played a lot of different things, and I'm actually choosing not to play this game just because of the content in it.
He stands by anyone of age having the right to buy the game, but worries it could get into the wrong hands.
You do need a parent to buy it, but, you know, if they're going to other people's houses and playing it, kids can get their hands on this, and, you know, this is definitely not intended for kids whatsoever.
No, I don't want him playing with my kids or none of my grandkids or no kids.
Don't buy the game.
Know what your kids are playing?
Yeah, watch them.
And be informed that Manhunt 2 is not child's play. Tim Miller, News 11.
And now to this video game, so horrifying it has been banned in Great Britain. It is now set to be released here in the U.S. on Halloween. It is called Manhunt 2, and we must warn you, there is nothing about this that is not disturbing. Manhunt 2 allows gamers to take on the role of a mental institution escapee who goes on a killing rampage. Not just that, but when you play this game on Wii, as opposed to Nintendo or PlayStation, you actually do the stabbing. So you grab the knife, you are over your victim, plunging the knife into the victim as you play the game. Now, the U.S. version is slightly less violent than the original that was banned. But if Great Britain found the toned-down game unacceptable, how concerned do parents here need to be? Joining me now is Ted Baer of the Christian Film and Television Commission. Ted, there is a very big industry for this type of game. They say, hey, if people want it, we're going to provide it. But many family groups here are outraged. Should they be?
They should be outraged because a certain number of children, not all children and not all teenagers who play the game, will be susceptible to it, but a significant proportion, those that are susceptible to violence, especially when they're in those teenage years or childhood years, that they're more inclined to copy the behavior, to build the scripts of behavior. That becomes their scripts of behavior for later life. So it is extremely dangerous, and it's hard to identify who's going to turn out to be the Michael Cho or the Columbine, one of the people that's going to be just pushed over the edge by a game like this. The more direct it is in terms of providing, just as you intimated in your introduction, the actual event of killing, the more likely it is to become a script of behavior. And we know from all the studies at University of Santa Barbara that what you got to do is when you have malicious behavior, you got to refute it immediately.
Right, you shouldn't be practicing it and encouraging it in a video game. But you know, the manufacturer says, look, this has been given this rating, you should not be able to buy it or play it if you're under age 17. Do you believe that will work?
It never works. In fact, that's just like a blinking red light saying, come and get it. You know, we knew that a while back in terms of theatrical movies, that movies that had the NC-17 or whatever were magnets. So, you know, under the Clinton administration, the previous administration, there was an effort to say, we're going to card people, movie theaters are not going to let people in.
It doesn't work out well. Let me just rush on because I want to ask you something. Those full screens we had with the guy with the axe over his head and with the hammer over his head. Just again, so our viewers know, there will be kids playing this game. They will have the axe. They will be holding the axe and bringing it down on their victim. That's how this will work when played on Wii. Let me tell you what the manufacturer, Rockstar Games, says about this. So we've got them on record. The Rockstar team has come up with a game that fits squarely within the horror genre and was intended to do so. It brings a unique, formerly unheard of cinematic quality to interactive entertainment and is also a fine piece of art. Their view is, hey, this may be creepy, it may be scary, but it's no different than a really creepy, scary horror flick, and people should have the right to go and use it if they want.
This is not only ridiculous, but it's just abhorrent. If a person had a propensity toward heroin use, let's say, do you give the child heroin? If they have a propensity to some other behavioral problem, do you give them the problem? Do you give them the knife if they have a propensity to violence? This is absolutely absurd, and the manufacturer, I'm sure, is saying this hoping that he's going to be carrying money all the way to the bank by exploiting the worst tendencies in society.
Yeah, well, it gets released on Halloween, perhaps.